This is actually a momentous day on the Test Drive channel because we typically review every car we're sent. You okay over there?
Come on. Go, go, go.
Okay. The Volkswagen Taos that got introduced in 2022 here in the US, when it got introduced, we were sent one. And Paul disliked it so much that we actually didn't do a video because he wasn't sure what he had to say. This is a 2025 model, which is the mid-cycle refresh, and they have made changes. There's more power. It used to have a 7-speed automatic when it was an all-wheel drive with 4Motion like this is. Now it has an 8-speed. So there have been changes. There have been refinements. There's more colors available. The interior's a little brighter. There's been changes, but I haven't heard a thing that Paul thinks of this, and he is desperate to talk about it. So we're here in the updated Taos, and I'm hoping that it's a little better than it used to be in your mind.
Great cars, great roads, and all the reasons we love to drive.
Road trips, comparisons, test drives, and podcasts. This is Everyday Driver. The starting place is to say something nice.
Yes.
Find the good in every car, because you know what? Volkswagen originated as the people's car.
Absolutely, that's what it means, yeah.
Affordable, reliable, something for everyone. A car for the people.
Sure, yeah.
I welcome that. I welcome inexpensive cars that are good, fun to drive. Yes, that's the bread and butter of the market.
I'm sensing a wind up here.
And this is one of those cars. I mean, this is a box to move people, and you know what? It's spacious.
It has a lot of space.
Not much has changed in the chassis or the overall dimensions. The front and rear clips are different. The interior is all new. The seats don't have neoprene. There's some things to like. And you know what? At a good price, $31,000, that makes the budget work for many families.
Yeah, $31,500, brand new, loaded as this is. Yeah,
families
this is not as loaded as you can get it, but it's close.
They need space. They need all-wheel drive, something with an engine to power their car to get around, something with good fuel economy. What, 25 city, 33 highway?
Yeah, it's decent.
So decent. And there's many competitors in this segment.
A lot.
Like 13, 14, something like that is what I counted.
Including Volkswagen competing with itself.
Yeah, they do that a lot.
There's that too, yeah.
And the Taos enters the market. You're right, I couldn't say anything nice, really. So the new one has some good features, 8-inch screen, touchscreen, the new 10.5-inch LED, color LEDs. There's some improvements here. It's also my understanding that Volkswagen upgraded the sound deadening, which you can tell when you slam the door. It's a little bit better. It's not quite so crappy. But that's just where we're at.
Not quite so crappy is the intro, everybody. That's where we are. Okay, keep going.
I mean, I really want to like this. I want creativity involved.
Sure.
But there's not. It's not fun to drive. It's not good. It's the same MQB A1 chassis that many other things are riding on.
Yes.
It's almost like Volkswagen has forgotten why they got in the car business and what cars should mean to people. Cars aren't just an appliance, even though this one is. It's a toilet, it's a toaster, it's just a thing. It should bring joy to you, but it doesn't drive well. The power's not enough, even though it has an 8-speed transmission.
True, yeah.
You have to downshift on a slight incline because there's just not enough torque, even though it has a 16 horsepower increase from the last generation, same amount of torque.
Yep.
It's almost like it can't get out of its way. It may be a little, you could describe it as peppy for a few seconds. But then you come to the name, Taos. Taos, New Mexico, known for arts and crafts, beautiful landscape, photography. Send your designers there. I guarantee you, none of the Volkswagen designers have ever been to Taos. I'm willing to bet a really nice dinner on that. They probably couldn't even point it out on a map.
Maybe not, yeah.
The key fob itself is made out of shame and shattered hopes and dreams. It's such cheap garbage.
I didn't know there was a source for that, but okay.
I can't believe when you hold on to the key fob,
fair.
It's so nasty. Maybe they could make it like an amulet, like a turquoise and silver, like what Taos, New Mexico is known for.
Sure, okay.
Make it
That's
something
how you can work
interesting
that
design.
in. I get that.
Work in some patterns into the car. Embrace the artistic theme. No, it was just another word that started with the letter T to fit in their naming convention, and I guarantee you they just thought, well, Taos isn't taken by any other car company. Let's take that.
Let's see, we got Taos and Tiguan and Touareg and T-Roc, and I'm forgetting at least two that are SUVs.
Here's the crux of the matter.
Okay.
I went looking at Consumer Reports and how they rated the Taos compared to all of its peers out of 13 other vehicles. And the Taos itself is dead last in Consumer Reports ranking. And that is not based on my opinion. It is based on surveys from owners. And so if Consumer Reports is saying this is dead last out of 13 other cars, 12 other vehicles,
Okay.
Seltos, HOV, Mazda CX-30, Ford Bronco Sport, Toyota Corolla Cross, Nissan Kicks, all of those are all better. And the number one competitor is Subaru Outback. Go buy a Subaru Outback if you're going to consider the Taos. Do not get the Taos.
I wouldn't have thought of that as being a direct competitor, but yes,
All
you
of
should
those
buy an
compete.
Outback instead of this. I see that, yeah.
The next closest competitor is almost doubled in score to the Taos. This
That
scored
hurts.
24 out of 100 points.
That hurts.
It's not fun to drive. The visibility, while it's just like every other SUV, I can't say, wow, fun to drive, good looking. Nope. It's interesting because of the patterns and the theme, the Taos theme that Volkswagen took into consideration.
There's
It's
no
just
theme.
patterned from their seat supplier and an interior that is, frankly, it could be in any car. It doesn't look unique and special and beautiful. It's like, how can Volkswagen allow themselves to produce a product like this? Even though new, it drives fine, the power's fine,
Sure,
it's all
sure.
fine.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
to say that it's slightly better than the first generation is one small step for mankind. That's like low bar. You're up to notch one.
Well, but let me spin it to you this way. This is the first car in Volkswagen's history. This was designed and developed for the Chinese market. It was first sold in China under a slightly different name in 2018. This is the first car to come out of the Chinese development cycle to then be sold in other markets for Volkswagen.
Okay.
The point I'm making here is this has been the struggle for the Chinese car market, is will their cars be good enough elsewhere? And some of them have been okay, and some of them have really not. So here is Volkswagen actually saying, this is the first car that's come out of Chinese development that has gone worldwide, and you're saying not good enough for the rest of the world. And so is Consumer Reports, which is interesting.
It's not even average. It's not close to average.
Yeah, I hear
I'll
that. I
take
hear that.
average. If you're going to just buy a $30,000 SUV for the family, you don't care about cars, you're just going driving, and if you're riding, and you're probably watching this because you either own one or you're shopping for Taos, and I'm going to tell you to not buy this. Show Volkswagen that your dollars are better than this is. Again, it drives fine. It's all fine. I know families who own the first generation. You see them everywhere, and I guess they run, but not when it really comes down to it. You really dig into the stats and specs. All right, let's change gears.
I mean, I do need to drive, and I have a couple things to say, but you keep going. It's good. It's good.
The interior is spacious.
It is.
You know what? As a modern interior, works great. The shifter, well placed, good driving position, good layout of controls, visibility, everything's fairly decent. The interface for the HVAC needs to go away.
It needs to be buttons. It's a haptic disaster down there. It really is.
It looks like it plays cassettes.
It does look like it has a cassette mouth. You're right, and that actually is your fan speed, and it's all touch, and yeah, it's not good.
There's also piano black everywhere, which now piano black has become the cheap version of making something shiny because it's going to get dusty, scratchy, and fingerprinted
Instantly.
everywhere, and that's what
It's
the
all over the
HVAC
place, yep.
system has been made out of. It works fine for now, but again, long term, I would say go buy a used Seltos for half the price, and you'll do better with your money.
But I also think that this could just be buttons. This requires you to look and to trace your finger to the actual haptic moment that you want
Does
to
this
have.
take cassettes?
I need to drive, and I have a few things to say pro and con, but after that, I'm really not sure that anybody's going to listen to me. But anyway,
All right,
it's
you
my
should
turn.
drive.
It's
You
my
should
turn,
drive.
yeah. This revised version kind of comes in a Taos color. It's almost
It is
a turquoise.
Taos-like,
It's
yeah.
Taos-like.
Sell me this Taos. Sell me.
I don't think I can sell it to you.
Sell
I don't
me
think I
this
can sell it
car.
to you.
Sell me the car.
My biggest issue is the fact that the Tiguan is slightly larger than this, is still built on this chassis, and the prices overlap. And when all of those things overlap for two products, I ask the question, I don't care what you're selling, but cars especially, why do both exist?
Right.
Because that becomes a real struggle. We've already beat up on the HVAC system, which is bad, and it is along the lines of what the new Mark 8 Golf is, which is just a haptic disaster of screens. This is really the larger Golf for scale, because again, it's the same platform that all of these use. So you are getting a larger Golf. Look, the back seat space is excellent. 60-40 split. There's
great,
a really good
yeah.
hatch. That's excellent. I do think that for $32,000, an 8-inch screen is an insult.
It's pretty cheap, isn't it?
You look at it and you can tell they've filled the space of a larger screen with extra buttons because you didn't spend enough. That feels like an insult. Now the good parts is this has dual climate control, heated seats. It's actually got a power seat on the driver's side.
Yeah.
I bring that up because at $30,000 you don't always get all those things. So that's places where it starts to feel like, hey, I got decent stuff for my money.
Feature rich.
That's what they're going for, but I do think that the 8-inch screen undermines that immensely.
Yeah.
The 8-inch screen.
It looks bigger, doesn't it?
The
Yeah, it
8-inch
looks
screen
large.
shows you
Yeah.
because of the framing and what they've done. Oh, you didn't step up enough. Oh, you didn't get a high enough car.
Yeah.
We're going to make a small screen inside a huge frame.
True.
That is the big thing, and you see it all the time. That is the one thing that gives away this interior is low rent. Is the 8-inch screen.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that it works fine. This new gauge cluster is excellent. It's very readable. All of that's no big deal. The power is fine. Look, this is a 2-liter that they've used a lot. They're not having any issue with that. The 16 extra horsepower is welcome. I appreciate 8 speeds over 7. All of that is good news.
We're going up a hill. You're going to have to
going up a hill
now.
But to your point, I'm imagining this with 4 people and gear.
Yeah, it's going to struggle.
And it's going to struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully, you're going to be able to pick an actual gear. It's not a CVT, so we're thankful for that. You can pick an actual gear, and that will help you power up the hill. But you're going to make this engine scream when you load this thing down. And it already weighs 3,500 pounds. So it's not a lightweight.
No.
Now, the ride feels like a nice, well-produced car. There's nothing about this that has a cheap ride. So in that regard, excellent. There's a pretty major crosswind right now here, and it actually feels fine. It's not getting blown around.
Good.
All of that is it's just going to track straight and feel nice. And in that regard, that's the place it feels German.
I like the bright side. I like finding the bright side on things.
But
I like
the
that.
issue is when I start to think about what are we shopping this with? And I want to send you right now to Autotempest.com. Autotempest.com/everyday. You can shop for any SUV you can imagine. This Taos, the old Taos, new cars, used cars, it searches all of the search sites for you. You can start to look at the competitors alongside the Taos at Autotempest.com. The problem is those competitors. And I'm going to bring up one because look, there's more than we can even remember right now. But I'm going to bring up one we drove recently.
Okay.
The Buick Envista.
Good one, yeah.
Little cheaper than this.
Yep.
Smaller engine. 1.2 liter, 3-cylinder engine.
One less cylinder.
And felt like it had more power than this.
Yeah, it did.
And somehow the styling and the build of that, if you watch that test drive, we kept being surprised of the value for money. Was it a great truck? No. Was it a standout across the board? Absolutely not. But cheaper than this and was more surprising.
In a
and
good way.
And is competing
Yes.
completely in this space.
Yeah.
And even working off of your point with Consumer Reports, this isn't ranking well, but just in stuff in recent memory that we've driven, we're going, well, I could do better than this for the same money or less. I'm astonished by that. And then when you consider the fact that this car was released, and I'm going to get a little bit wrong, but it was like, I think it was 4 SUVs in 5 years from Volkswagen. I mean, they were cranking out SUVs when they cranked this out, and frankly, they should have turned off the pump because it's just too many. Even if they were all good, that's too many because they overlap. The problem is they're not all good, and this genuinely doesn't have a worthwhile place in the market. It is too overlapped with the Tiguan to really make sense. And it doesn't offer anything to make you go, oh, well, you know what? I'm really glad the Taos exists in the Volkswagen lineup. It doesn't seem to offer anything that does that. And that's the place where I struggle with it the most, is I don't see the purpose it's serving other than to have another overlapped slice of the market in small 5-seat SUVs, a situation where there's too many anyway. I don't care what the brand is. Every brand sells too many of those. Volkswagen went on a spree of creating 5-seat CUVs. We were overseas once and we drove the T-Roc and we were like, what is this? There's way too many, and this one should die, and the Tiguan is fine in its place, or you get yourself a Golf. That's the thing I struggle with. The Golf has redeeming features. The Tiguan is bigger than this for the same price, which gives it an up already. Those two should exist, and this doesn't need to be in the middle at all. It just doesn't. And that's my struggle, is I don't see the purpose of it in their own lineup. Then you lay it alongside the competition from everybody, and it gets schooled. For $31,500.
The problem is, not only do I want Volkswagen to stop making these, I feel sorry for everyone who has bought one already, because
they're in the comments right now, by the way. I'm just letting you know.
Turn off the spigot. And then you already have one, and it's not a good car to drive. It's not reliable. And that's not us.
Yeah.
That's from owners.
And I appreciate cars that surprise me. This has no surprises and then has disappointments. And that's probably the worst 1-2 punch I could give it.
I'm telling you, you can feel it in the fob.